that's not what RAM is.
I know, but the RAM shouldn't be an issue either. All right, parallel lines and transversals. Like I said, the big difference between yesterday and today is today the angle pairs are set with parallel lines in a transversal. And 90% of the time we're working with this, we'll be working with parallel lines, because when these two lines, and by the way, the red marks, the red triangles, the red arrows are indicating the lines are parallel. When the lines are parallel, that's when the angle pairs get their unique relationships. So we talked, every angle pair not only has a name, it has a relationship. So today we're going to probably modify our note cards a little bit by adding to them the relationship for the angle pair. And for the most part, the relationship is going to be obvious, because we have only two sets of relationships. They're either congruent or supplementary, right? Yeah. Those are my only choices, really, here. And it's pretty easy to tell. Gosh, if the angle pair, if both of them are acute, it's probably not going to be supplementary, because I can't take two angles less than 90 and add them up and get 180, can I? Can't do it. Okay, if they're both obtuse,
You can.
no, because they both be over 90, bigger than 90 and bigger than 90, and always going to be bigger than 180, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're both acute or they're both obtuse, the relationship is probably going to be what?
Not congruent.
Yes, congruent. If they're both acute or both obtuse.
Oh, I thought you meant if one was
No.
acute, one was
I thought maybe you misunderstood the question.
I understand it, actually.
Yes, that's fine. Okay.
Totally stupid.
I'll let that go. So if they both are acute or they're both obtuse, then probably that relationship is congruent, right? If one's acute and one's obtuse, then they must be the other relationship, which would be
Linear.
supplementary. Supplementary. Okay? So it's pretty easy to tell which is which situation is which. Postulate 15 said the corresponding angles are congruent. That's the key one. Now, we aren't just going to go by common sense. We're going to actually prove to you today. I'm going to show you why. Prove to you that what I say is true. So you don't have to just take my word for it. We're going to prove it. But we do start with a postulate, which is not a proven statement. Postulate 15 says, if parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, then the corresponding angles are congruent. It's called the corresponding angles postulate. So that means angle 1 would have to be congruent to which angle in this picture? Which angle does angle 1 correspond to?
2. Wait, no, I'm lying. 3. Nope, I'm lying.
7. There we go. To angle 7. And angle 8 would correspond to and be congruent to angle 6. Just for reference point, because it's always good to review, angle 1 and angle 2 would be called what kind of pair?
Linear.
Linear pair. How about angle 1 and angle 3? What's that?
Oh, crap. Oh, wait, no, vertical.
Vertical. Vertical is right. Vertical. Okay? So we're just going to keep bang, 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 quizzing on these things, okay? We need to know. Now, given that that's true, let's see what we can conclude about other sets of angle pairs. To make our conclusions, like it says here, we use facts about vertical angles and linear pairs. So we're given parallel lines crossed by a transversal as drawn in the picture. That's our given. I said angle 6 is congruent to angle 8, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. Why is that true? How do I know angle 8 is congruent to angle 6 and angle 4 is congruent to angle 2? What type of angle pair are they? What's the name? 8 and 6. 8 and 6. 8 is here, 6 is here, in case you can't see.
Oh, those are
Nope, wait, no.
What's the name?
linear pairs.
Consecutive.
Corresponding. There we go. It's corresponding. Okay? And again, identification is key. That's why we're working on this. The corresponding angles, how about 4 and 2, are also corresponding angles, right?
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's true because, and the reason why, because people want to know, well, why is that true? Because corresponding angles are congruent. And we don't need to know that that's postulate 15. I don't care that it's postulate 15. When I'm doing a proof like this, What does postulate 15 say? What's the reason why? I don't care what number postulate, I want to know what postulate says, or the name of it. I could say corresponding angles postulate, but the reason is corresponding angles are congruent. Angle 8 is congruent to angle 2. How do I know that? Because they're vertical, and we have a theorem that tells us that, yes. So, vertical angles are congruent is my reason. So if 8 is congruent to 6, and 4 is congruent to 2, and 8 is congruent to 2, then 6 must be congruent to 4, or 8 must be congruent to 4, or we could do all sorts of different things, couldn't we? By substitution. So what did I just conclude? I just concluded, well, you said 6 and 4. Well, 6 and 4, yeah, we know 6 and 4 because they're vertical. But 8 and 4 are what type of a pair? Alternate interior, because they're between the pair. So I've just proven to you that alternate interior angles have to be congruent, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay? I could have also made this last statement instead of 8 and 4, I could have said 6 and 2. Just as easily, because I could have said, since 6, yeah, we could get to 6 and 2 here, can't we? 8 is congruent to 2, 8 is congruent to 6, so 6 is congruent to 2, yes. I could do that by substitution also. And 6 and 2 would be what pair? Alternate exterior, not alternative, but alternate. But we're getting there. I get where you're coming from. Oh, yeah, they are music genres. Sorry. So it's alternate exterior angles. So again, we've just proven, using deductive reasoning, that when parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, the alternate interior angles are congruent, and the alternate exterior angles are also congruent. We've just proven that. Those are proofs. That's why we do what we do. What could I conclude about consecutive interior angles? Well, consecutive interior, what's a consecutive interior pair here? Give me one consecutive interior. 8 and 7. Are they going to be congruent?
No.
Obviously not. One's acute, one's obtuse. So they're not going to be congruent. What are we going to conclude about them? They have to be supplementary. Okay, so consecutive interiors have to be supplementary when parallel lines are crossed by a transversal. So now we have all of these conclusions that we have. And again, we can do is we can look at these now, and actually, I'll go to my last slide for a second. Okay? This is kind of summary of what we've done in this unit, in this part of Unit B, looking at angles and angle pairs. All right? But now we know when parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, corresponding angles are congruent. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. Consecutive interior angles are supplementary. Linear pairs are adjacent and supplementary. Vertical angles are congruent. Okay? So these are all relationships that we could add to our note cards now. In fact, you should probably get out your note cards if you don't have them out, and make sure you add those relationships. So on your note card now, if you have the lines crossed by a transversal, and we say angle 1 and angle 2, on the back we identify it. And we state the relationship. They're congruent. Their corresponding angles and the relationship is they're congruent. So again, we get name and relationship, name and relationship, name and relationship. It takes some memorization to do the names. That takes some memorization. And again, hopefully this is where your flashcards are going to be helpful tonight. I'm hoping that you've got this on your on one side and the name on the other side, so you can be quizzing yourself on those tonight to make sure you know those names on site. That's important. The relationship we don't have to memorize so much. We can usually figure it out again by comparing. Gosh, they're both obtuse. Not going to be supplementary, must be congruent. Because we know they have a special relationship. We can usually figure out which one it is, but using a little common sense. So how do we use it? How do we use these facts? Okay. This is kind of, we'll get to this later, but again, if we're using these as reasons in proof, which we'll get to more proof later on, and we will need to use these as reasons in proof, another reason to memorize the names, and like I said, we won't have to do this for a little while, is the reason why we're able to make conclusions is often the name of the angle pair. So like we did before, we said, why is this true? Because corresponding angles are congruent. What was the reason in my proof? I used the name of the angle pair here. Corresponding angles are congruent because they're corresponding angles. Here, 8 and 2, vertical angles are congruent. My reason why, in order to state my reason why, I had to know the name of the angle pair. So yet another reason why it's important to know the name of the angle pair. Okay? We need to know that so we can use that later on. This isn't just a one-off, learn it and we're done with it thing. This is a know it because we're going to use it over and over and over and over again thing. So again, put it on the hard drive. Long-term memory. How do we use it? We use it to set up and solve equations. Gosh, what a shock. What have we been doing all year in here? We've been learning a geometric concept and then we've been applying algebra. What are we going to be doing the rest of the year in here? Learning a geometric concept and then solving equations using that concept. Do you sense a theme? I'm sensing a theme. Got to say, pretty sledgehammer over the head obvious at this point what the theme is, right? We use algebra in here a lot. So, here's the thought process we go through for this. This is a thought process we need to be doing step by step. I look at the picture and I say, what type of an angle pair is this? Let's name the angle pair. Start by naming it. I look at the indicated angles there. I got this 3x minus 30 over here, and I got the 5x over here. What would be the name of that angle pair? Well, let's see if I can figure it out. It's not on the interior, so I know it's not consecutive interior or alternate interior. They aren't one on the interior and one on the exterior. That's corresponding. They're both on the exterior, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So what's the name? We don't use opposite. We use alternate and exterior because they're both exterior. Okay? See, we got some work still to do on identification, don't we? How many times can I say it? Flashcard to yourself. Got to learn these. You got to be able to look at that, and boom, alternate exterior. That's our goal. I've watched some of you. I will watch some of you. Some of you have taken biology. Some of you still have yet to take it. But I mean, memorizing entire lists of bones and lists of things like that. In the history class, you memorize lists of names and dates. You certainly can memorize, 6 different names of angle pairs. I know you're capable of that. I know you are. All right? I know they're alternate exterior angles, so first thing, identify it. Next step, what's the relationship? Alternate exterior angles have to be congruent. And I can just use my symbol there, that's fine. Oh, now that I've named it, now that I know the relationship, that tells me congruent means equal measure. So that means 3x minus 30 plus 5x equals 180 or equals 5x? Equals 5x. Does everybody see that? Why it's equals 3x, or equals 5x, not 3x. And then we just do our algebra. And again, on a test or a quiz, if you can at least get to this point, you're guaranteed at least 1 out of 3 points, probably, maybe even 2, because you've identified things correctly and you've identified the correct relationship. We do have to do our algebra still to get all the way to the end. It's a little different in that I'm not going to do plus 30 to each side. What am I going to do to both sides to start with? Minus 2x. 3x. Sorry, it's going to be 2x when I'm done. So I get negative 30 equals 2x. So x is negative 15. Now, yeah, it's probably not going to work so well to have negative. I probably should have had that as plus 30 instead of minus 30, but we've done the math. That's what comes out for x. I'd been happier if this had been plus 30. I probably should change that for next hour. That's better. That's just because I put random variable values in there. That's what happened. Bad variables. Don't worry, on the test we make sure you got good ones before you take it. So anyway, that's how we set up and solve a problem. But notice that thought process. Step 1, what kind of angle pair is it? Step 2, what kind of relationship does this angle pair have? Step 3, set up and solve the equation. Which is in and of itself several steps long. Yeah. Question? Did you have a question? Oh. Okay. A little trickier. We're going to start getting trickier pictures. It's a tricky picture. Now, what we have to do when we get tricky pictures is we have to start, here's the strategy to use here. Redraw the picture with just the elements of the picture you need. Here I have parallel lines. These are my parallel lines. I identify them by their little arrows. So really, I'll extend my page here a little bit so I can redraw. I've got these parallel lines. And I'm going to draw on just this transversal. And I'm going to extend it. I know this angle right down here is 88 degrees. And I'm asked for x degrees up here. Aha! I can do that, can't I? What's the name of that angle pair? Again, folks, you can't tell me what the name of the angle pair is if your head is down and you are not looking at the board. Heads up. Everyone. Give him a tap. Gently. You can't, it's hard to identify the angle pair if you're not looking at it. Yeah. So let's stay awake, shall we? What is this angle pair? What's the name of that angle pair? Corresponding angles, yes. And the so step 1, we got our corresponding angles. Step 2, what's the relationship for corresponding angles? They're congruent, okay? It's kind of hard to tell because 88 degrees is pretty close to right angle. It's almost intersecting at a right angle, so it's not obvious what's acute and what is obtuse. But they have to be congruent, so therefore x must be 88, okay? Then I could redraw the picture again. Again with, you'll note what I'm doing is I'm extending the lines. I'm going to expand my page one more time. I'm going to redraw my picture again. There are my two lines. This time I'm going to draw on this transversal. But notice I've extended all my lines beyond, I'm not letting them end, I'm extending them. Okay? This angle where it comes together here is 45. Y up here is this angle right here. Aha! What's the name of that angle pair? Alternate interior. That's step 1. What's the relationship? Congruent, therefore y must be 45. Yeah. I just took these lines and I extended them. Okay?
You can extend a line as far as you want.
Yes, they're lines. They're drawn as segments, but I can go ahead and make them longer. And I can see now, and what some people do is they actually take a piece of paper they take a piece of paper, set it over that, trace it with longer lines, okay, and trace it with longer lines so you can see what's going on. Yep. So we can see then that these two angles are alternate interior angles. Or redraw the picture, one of the two. But when we get more complex pictures, it takes a little bit of effort to see what's going on. We don't always go with just the easy, straightforward 2 lines in a transversal. We make it interesting. but we are free to extend lines. We're free to make lines longer. We're free to do things like that, to redraw pictures with some things not drawn in there, to take my hand and cover up the part that's confusing me, so I only see the part of the picture I need. That's another strategy. Take a note card or another piece of paper, plop it over the top of that, so I'm only looking at the part of the picture I need. That's fine. Those are all little strategies we can use to help understand the picture better so we can answer the question. And we're going to see problems like that in our homework. So again, the summary of what we're doing here. That's the grand summary of what we've done. Now, we do have a benchmark tomorrow. And what we're going to be doing is this, just so you understand what the schedule is. Okay, here we go. Here's the review. That's the review. Okay. Now, I didn't have time to put the answers on for this one, so we will go over this in class. The first 15, 20 minutes of class tomorrow we will spend going over this review, plus whatever other questions you may have from the homework. This is like a practice quiz. We've been doing this. This is the fourth time around now with review sheet. Hopefully you've learned now that when I give you one of these, this is essentially your quiz that you're going to take tomorrow. Just with different numbers. Just different numbers. So you get a chance to go home and practice it tonight, work with other people, take it in the learning lab, go over it with a teacher, bring it in here after school, go over it with me, come see me tomorrow morning before school, go over it with me. All those things are opportunities for you. And then when you see the quiz tomorrow, second half of the period, it should be a breeze. You already know what to do. Yep. And give several names for that angle. See how many names you can give that angle. I bet you can give 4, including up to. Yes. Plus book. Plus a little book, yes. It's not.
Did you short it?
Let me take a look.
Yeah, we need like 2,000 from the book, and then like 4,000 from the
All right, hold on. Today is Thursday. Yeah. We're going to cut to page 160. Okay? And we'll just do 4 through 26 even here. I think. Let me just double check. Let me just double check those. I just want to make sure I'm not cutting something out that might show up on the quiz. That'd be a good thing to review. Okay? I don't want to cut something out and then say, oh, that was going to be on the quiz. Ooh, I shouldn't have cut that out. That wouldn't be cool. Okay? Yeah. Nope. 27 through 33. You're right, it is. Tell you what, I'm going to leave 27 through 33 in there, but just the odds. All right? So that's 27, 29, 31, 33, so 4 of them. But actually, yeah, 33 is a multiple choice, so that's good. Write it down now. Just write it down. It's not that hard.